Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had another off season, and we've managed to maintain our roster, which is obviously a great thing. Obviously, still, it's a little bit strange without Staubitz on our roster, but it's going to be an interesting season, I think, for this team. I think we definitely can make it back to the playoffs again this year, but I do expect a little bit of a regression from our team, so I'm not too sure exactly how far we're going to get this year in the playoffs and all that stuff, but I'm hoping for some fun stats and hopefully maybe some more award winners and that type of thing. So should be an interesting season. There is a chance that we might make some crazy adjustments to our lines. Obviously, you guys, I ended it on a little bit of an interesting note with Narena as a forward. Now, I know we'll get into the comments and stuff like that in a little bit, but some of you guys don't really like the addition of putting Narena as a forward. But I'll obviously address that when we get to the comments and stuff like that. But the only reason why Narena would be probably a better suited for a forward, I think, is just because I would like the youngster and McLeod to get into the lineup. Now, there's other options, obviously, is putting McLeod as a forward instead of Narena, and Narena just stays on that top six pairing. But obviously, when we have a lot of guys listed as top four defensemen, we need to find them a way to get ice time, and regardless, one of these guys will have to probably play forward if we do want to get all of them into the lineup, because I don't really want to send one of them back down to the minors as a top four defenseman. I don't think that really makes much sense. So we probably will be running one at least as a forward this year. Not too sure exactly which one I would run, but obviously we'll make that decision as we go through the season. But anyways, before we get into another season simulation and see if we can make it back to the postseason or not, let's get in your guys' comments. See what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get set up for the preseason and into the regular season as well. So the first two comments are from Garage TV. The first one says, I'm kind of at a loss for words. Lots of moves I wouldn't have done, and no way should Narena be in the top six. And then he also says, hope your season goes well. And I don't know what you mean about lots of moves you wouldn't have done. I don't know if you wouldn't have resigned Narena, something like that, but I think our team is still strong enough to basically, I think it was a good idea to hold on to a lot of these guys. Now, I know there was probably some people that said, basically, or they were thinking at least, that we should have probably let go of Narena on our defensive core, which obviously, as you can see, everybody's listed here as top four defenders. The reason why I wanted to hold on to him is because he needs to retire with this club. He's been a legend kind of in the series, so I think by having him on this roster until he retires, I think that's probably the best service we could give him, is just because he's been here for so long. He's a lot older than everybody else on this team, so I think obviously holding on to him is an important thing for the rest of the season, and hopefully he retires at the end of the year, just because I would like his cap space to come off, but I don't really just want to let him go to free agency like I could have done, so that's the only reason why we brought him back. I know it's kind of a bit of a weird decision, considering there's a lot of young guys that could take his roster spot and all that, but I would prefer this guy just to retire with the club. We do still have a lot of money in cap space right now too, so at least it's not a terrible issue that we have at the moment. It might become more of an issue next off season, but we'll get to that when we get to that. The next comment is from Saturn Taku. Says, a goalie named Leguan drafted by Nashville in the second round is pretty funny. Dingle could potentially make it in time for the last season of the mode. Same for Hartman, since he's a gem. Otherwise, it was a whole lot of whatever. It makes more sense to run McLeod as a forward. Maybe he becomes a reverse Brent Burns. So he was saying about running McLeod as a potential forward instead of Narena, basically, and maybe he could become like a reverse Brent Burns. Now, I'm not too sure still exactly who we want to run in this position, so this is going to get into what I'm actually thinking for the season. I didn't want to actually go to the calendar. I don't even know how I went to the calendar. I thought I went to edit lines, but I guess I did not. Yeah, basically, if we go here to edit lines, you can see right now, obviously, like I was mentioning, we do have Narena on the second line. We are probably going to do a little bit of a test with these two guys, so I'll probably run Narena as a forward for 10 games, see how he does during the regular season, and then we will swap to McLeod as a forward on that line for 10 games and see who's better as a forward. Once that's done, we will obviously make our decision accordingly on who should be on the defensive core and who should be on the forward core. It might actually make sense, like you guys are saying, to put Narena on the defensive core instead, just because of the fact that we do have two right-handers playing together on this top six pairing. Maybe this makes that top six pairing a bit stronger, having a lefty and a right D, so that might be what we look into doing. Regardless, both those offensive defensemen are going to get power play time. One of them is going to be, obviously, like I said, a forward in the top six, but they're also going to be a defenseman on the power play, so it should be relatively solid enough to get some good production from both those guys. So I'm excited to see who ends up being the better of the two in terms of forward. Obviously, Narena's probably going to drop off throughout the season as well, so maybe that makes more sense for him to be on defense because he could be a top 6 defenseman early into the season or not. So we'll come to that decision after 10 games and see if Narena's the better option for the forward group or if it is going to be the young defenseman in McLeod, who I'm very excited about seeing this season. And the last and final comment is from Michael Dosu, says, I'm not a fan of Narena as a forward on the second line. As a matter of fact, I'm not a fan of him being a forward. I suppose if you want to get him in the lineup, then the forward, third line, or fourth would be my vote. So he's saying if we do want to be playing him as a forward, we should be playing him on the third line or fourth line. Third line, I think, could be actually an okay spot for him too, if we do want to move him down at some point. But fourth line is definitely something I would not do, because the fact that he's more offensively minded, putting him on a fourth line that's supposed to be more defensively oriented, I feel like he could probably not do that well down there. Like, he'd probably make that fourth line really bad in plus minus. So I prefer to have him in more of an offensive type of role, which means he needs to either be in the top 6 or top 9. So obviously, we'll make some line adjustments after a few games, but it'll be interesting to see which of those two guys ends up being the guy. And for now, obviously, I think I'll test Narena on that top 6 just because he's the older guy. But obviously, if he doesn't work there, McLeod could come into that spot. The reason why McLeod's not going to start in that position is just because McLeod has no NHL experience up to this point. So obviously, Narena, since he's been picking up a lot of points in his NHL career at this point, like he's got 786 career points. I know that he can produce, so that's why I'm putting him in that top 6 to see how he will produce. If he doesn't produce, like I said, then there is that young defenseman we could potentially get into that top 6 instead. And maybe we try and get him to convert to a forward. I mean, I could use him as just a defenseman for his entire career too, like a forward and defense combo, and we just put him in the lineup regardless. That could be something. So yeah, let's start with Narena's forward and see how that goes for this team. And if it does go good, obviously we'll keep maybe going with it. But like I said, we'll do 10 games for each of them and see who ends up being the better of the two options. So that's what we're going to do basically to start off the season. I know some of you guys might not agree with necessarily moving a defenseman to a forward, but since they're offensive defensemen, we can literally do what happened in real life with like Brent Burns, as Sound Taku was mentioning. So we do have a conversation with our head coach in Quincy Nielsen. Let's see, preseason, let's just do 5v5 focus as we typically do again. And season goal, what does he think about our roster? He thinks we're good enough to compete for the Stanley Cup again this year, so we should be definitely a playoff team. We do have really good goaltending. We have a pretty damn solid defensive core. Our forward group is not too bad, even with the loss of Staubitz. But I do think our offensive numbers probably will drop off a little bit after losing him. So let's go through a preseason. And we're not going to really look at stats from the preseason too much. Maybe I'll look at Narena's stats from the preseason, but obviously, we want to do 10 regular season games for each of them as a forward on that left wing side of things, and then we'll decide on who should be in that for the rest of the year. So let's take a look at how we did in the preseason. 3-4-1, not the best results, but obviously we're not necessarily expecting to light it up in the preseason either. Let's take a look at some stats and see who was actually doing good during that preseason. So it looks like the old man in Kolars was doing good. Risto was still doing good, even though he's definitely going to be on the decline throughout this season, I think. I would also expect Kolars to maybe start losing some of his X factors, considering he's already 34, so watch for that stuff like that. Maybe Bell loses some of his X factors, but he is 32 years old only, so maybe not. Narena had 7 points in 8 games as a forward in the preseason, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come, because if it is, that would be really nice for our old guy to do well in that top 6. If he's not going to do that good, obviously, during the regular season, then we'll probably, like I said, put the young defenseman in instead, but looks like he was pretty damn good. And then the young defenseman in McLeod only had 2 points in 8 games. Obviously, he wasn't getting as much ice time. He was getting power play time, though, but he didn't have as good of a preseason as Narena did. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up simulating better as a forward. I honestly have no idea what to expect. Now, we did do a few years ago, in my Houston series, we actually ran a defenseman as a forward because he was scoring a lot of points. So this is the same type of boat. It makes somewhat realistic sense, I think, to try an offensive defenseman as a forward. I know it's kind of a bit strange to do, but at this stage we have nothing to lose, and like I said, I want to get people ice time. So let's do our first 10 games of the season, and then we'll take a look at Narena's stats. So we got to go through these 4 games, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, literally till the end of the month. Okay, that's not too bad. That makes it a little bit easier to kind of understand that. So let's go through 10 games, and then we'll take a look and see how Narena is after 10 games. But Hopefully this team gets off to a good start again. And like I said, I think playoffs should be pretty easy for us to make with our roster, especially with our goaltending. We do get a defensive injury to start the season, which is not ideal because I do need to free up, send somebody down to the minors basically to call up a defenseman, I think. It is Petterman on that top 6 pairing as well. So, wow, Narain actually jumped up to an 83. That's kind of interesting. McLeod just jumped up to an 83 too. God damn. Okay, we need to get we need to get some guys ice time. God damn, I didn't even expect Hunwick to jump to an 89 before the season started too. Okay. Let's see. Who is scratched at the moment? We do not have that depth defenseman. Oh yeah, that's right. I need to send somebody down. I probably should have done that before the start of the season because now there's waivers and stuff like that. Is there anybody that would not make this a minus as a defenseman? Like if I had a 4-play defense instead, like I could always just take Narena and move him back to defense, but right now I want to do that test. Would Stillman work on a defensive core? Probably not, right? No, he would not. That's -3. Would anybody work decently here? Capaduca? -5. Yikes. That's definitely not going to work. And Malak as a sniper, probably not going to work, right? -3. So it's only short term. I will go with, I guess, Stillman on defense. I may be able to get rid of this minus. Maybe not. Nope. Maybe I should just call up somebody from the AHL. I guess I could call up somebody since there's an injury, right? Yeah, I think I could call up somebody from the AHL, but we don't have any depth forwards in the AHL or depth defenders, so we're reaching into the prospect pool by doing that. I could call up Carlotti to play a little bit, or Ackerstrom, or Sagan. You know what? Let's give Sagan a chance. Call him up. I think I should be able to call him up, yeah, because I do have that roster space available, so I prefer probably to put a defenseman in that spot. I don't think Sagan's going to get claimed on waivers, but there is a chance he could. I'm just not too sure if he will or not. He's 28 years old. I don't think he's going to get claimed at this point because he's not going to become that crazy. Apparently he's a bit nervous about his call-up, which is interesting. So we'll call him up, and we will just throw this other player in, which is, for some reason, they signed me a center to play as a defenseman, which I don't really understand, but I don't really care too much about the AHL that much. We'll take Stillman back out here and get Sagan a little bit of playing time in the NHL. I don't know why that says still -3. It's still a -3. God damn, man. I thought that would improve it. And now where's the friggin' chemistry on the top 6 pairings going? What the shit? Okay, this game's kind of glitching out a little bit, which is kind of scaring me. Kind of scaring me a bit. Okay. It is acting also very slow. Alright, let's go with that. Hopefully Petterman is back soon, but I don't think it is too long term. We do lose that game against Columbus 3-2. Game against St. Louis is going to be a shootout loss, still a point. I'll take it. Nashville is also a loss. So after that injury, we are starting to lose a couple more games. And the young defenseman's already been injured till November the 10th. God damn, that's not good. Another defensive injury. That's the one thing that could be a little bit of a factor this year is the injuries on defense. So I am going to have to call up another defenseman from the AHL. God damn. Oh my goodness. We need to put a forward in that spot for the time being. Unless Petterman's back, which I don't think he is, right? Holy crap, man. This is kind of like the worst start to an episode ever just because of the amount of injuries and stuff. Because especially to our defense, like I don't really want the injuries at this stage. I just really don't. So let's just go here. It sucks that McLeod's already gone down too, because I do want to test, like I said, him as a forward as well. But we might have to keep Narain as a forward for the time being. So we'll just throw, I think it was Stillman in both these spots for the time being. And we'll call up from the AHL. We will call up another defenseman, probably Ackerstrom. Both those guys are going to have to go through waivers, but I doubt they get claimed just because they're 77s only. It's not like they're 80 overall defenders, but we have to reach into the defense in the AHL a little bit here to start off the year, which is not exactly what I had in mind, but hopefully at least it simulates decently while we keep running our young defenders in the AHL, I guess. I don't even really know, man. This is kind of a really bad start just because I need to edit these lines and all that stuff. But, oh my goodness. Losing 2 of our top 6 defensemen in the same few games is kind of insane. And Petterman's already back right away after a win over Montreal. So, That is good. That means I could send down one of the two defensemen. I guess I'll send down Seguin because Seguin's in Petterman's spot. Yeah, sure. And Seguin did not get claimed. That is good news. At least we have defenders that won't get claimed, because if these guys got claimed, it would make it even harder to run this defensive core. But we will get our right defenseman and Petterman back into the spot for the time being. He isn't fully healthy yet, but he should be relatively soon, which is good. Hopefully we don't keep running into injuries, or else I'm just going to be kind of pissed off here. All right, game against Colorado coming up. Is Petterman fully healthy? And oh my goodness, another defensive injury. We've lost 3 of our defenders in the first month of the season. When was the last time you guys seen something like that? Hunwick has pulled his groin. I'm going to go replace player for a second, but I need to stop the simulation immediately. We got already Petterman in the lineup. But what the heck is happening with our lines in our defensive core? Like, our defensive core is made of glass right now, apparently. That's kind of insane, man. I was not expecting this at all to start off the year. Like, I thought we could have had maybe a bit of a healthier season, but right now everybody's getting injured on this defensive core. So let's once again call up another defenseman from the AHL. That would be probably again in Seguin. I could call up Carlotti, but I would prefer him to get maybe some more ice time playing in the AHL anyways. So let's call up Seguin again. He shouldn't get claimed when he gets sent back down again, which is good. This is a really disastrous start. I really hope we don't have any more injuries, because I literally cannot handle having to replace players back and forth like this. Like, I could see why some of you guys want injuries to be off all the time and stuff like that. So, but let's get Seguin back in here. He's now up to only 75, so he dropped off, I guess, a little bit. We'll keep him in that exact same spot, I guess. No, we'll go with that. We'll swap Ackerstrom and Seguin just for something, but yeah, right now that defensive core is just getting injured every single game, which is not exactly what I was expecting for the first 10 games of the season. All right, so let's go through these 2 games still, because we do got to take a look at Narena's stats still as a forward, but I don't know if I could change him back to defense yet, because McLeod's not going to be healthy for a little bit still, so that's not ideal. But 5-3-2 in our first 10 games of the year, not necessarily the best in the world, but let's take a look for fun at how good Narena's been at this point, because I am kind of curious on how he's been as a forward. Like, if he was on defense, would he be getting injured all the time? Damn, he's a -7 through 10 games with only 5 assists. So I don't think forward's working out really that well for him. But he's going to have to probably stay on forward until our defensive core is healthy. Probably. Unless I put Malak in that spot for the time being. Like, let's go with a little bit of line adjustments here. Let's take Narena out of this spot, get Malak into this spot, get Narena onto the defensive side of things. We'll throw him where McLeod was for the time being. And once McLeod's back from injury, he'll go on forward, is what I'm thinking here. So go with something like that. Actually, we'll go with that for the time being. And then, yeah, Ackerstrom could get sent down soon. Hunwick and McLeod should be back relatively soon, hopefully. And then, yeah, basically once McLeod's back from injury, he'll replace where Malak is, and then McLeod will jump up there. Delisle will go down. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, okay, Narena's playing defense. Hopefully he's better defensively as a defenseman, because his plus-minus right now as a forward was pretty damn trash. But I don't know if this team's just running into some weird stuff, but the defensive injuries have been literally off the charts to start the season. Like, I don't think I've ever had a month in the first 10 games where literally almost every single defenseman goes down. 3 defenders of the 6. That's crazy. Let's go another month here. We will obviously make those adjustments when we're back to full health here, which hopefully should be soon. Tampa, we do shut out 2-0. Hunwick is back, so that is great news. Obviously, he's technically, I'd say, our best defenseman other than Bell. So having him back is nice. We will, for the time being, I guess we have to send down Seguin, right? And McLeod's almost fully healthy too. So I actually have to send down both these guys. So Seguin and Ackerstrom will send you guys both down. I don't think you're going to get claimed. No, you do not. That's good news. It's good that at least these guys aren't getting claimed, man. Because if they're getting claimed, I'd be like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I'm going to have to call up 75 or lower. So let's go here. So this is Hunwick's spot, I believe. And then Hunwick needs to go up. That's not supposed to be minus. I think it's just glitched out right now. And if we go to forwards here, we need to take out Maluk. And we need to go to scratched and get McLeod into that spot. I'll keep him on the third line for the time being just because I want to make sure he doesn't get injured again. Actually, maybe I'll keep him out of the lineup for the time being. Let's actually keep both those guys out of the lineup for the time being. I just don't want to have to deal with more of these injuries. So let me take Hunwick out for the time being. And we'll throw a random forward to play defense just for the time being. Just for the time being. Probably not Capaduca, though. We'll probably do Stillman again. Or actually, Stillman's already in the lineup, isn't he? Where is Stillman? Where is Stillman? I thought Stillman was in the lineup. Oh, no, he's not, apparently. Man, I'm getting confused now because these injuries are literally throwing me completely off my game right now. I did not expect them to start the season, so Stillman in. We'll go with that. And that way, hopefully our defenders get fully healthy, which they should be in a second. Let me stop the sim. And are they fully healthy yet? Let me just see those notifications that they're fully healthy. And I guess they're not yet. I'm going to take a look at our lines and make sure they're actually healthy first. I just don't want to risk them getting injured again, like I said, and having to call Backerstrom and all those guys again. So let's see, are they healthy yet? No, they're not. Okay, they should be back within a few days, so let's just go one game at a time here while we wait for them to be healthy. Game against Detroit, they are back. Good. That is good news. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to see. So Malak will come out of the lineup, and in will come defenseman McLeod. We'll see what he could do as a forward. And we'll get him into that top six role for the time being. From a defensive standpoint, we will take Stillman out, and we will throw in Hunwick again. Perfect. Okay, so we're finally, I think, back to full health, which is fantastic. We do still probably should have a depth defenseman up here at all times, so maybe I should have kept a defender up here and sent down a forward. But I feel like any of these guys could get claimed too, potentially, so maybe we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Man, hopefully we stay healthy the rest of the way. So we beat Detroit 7-3, which is a good thing. And now we go through 10 games and see how McLeod does as a forward. But I think McLeod will have to stay as a forward regardless, almost, because, yeah, Narena, 5 assists in 10 games is good. But that plus-minus was pretty damn atrocious. So I think we'll probably end up just keeping McLeod as a forward the rest of the year. But obviously I do want to see what he does in 10 games as a forward. So we do win the first game with him as a forward, which is good to see, as Lawson's back for the AHL. I honestly don't even know who this is and where he was in the lineup. Yeah, I guess he wasn't in the lineup. It was just some guys that they signed me to fill up the roster, I think. Actually, no, it was this pair, and that was just filler players. So let's just get these guys back in so they aren't losing morale. But weird start to this episode, man. Like, I've already been recording for like 23 minutes, and I haven't even gotten close to the season being recorded fully yet. So this is a little bit of a lackluster start. I apologize, but we did not expect to lose all those defensemen so quick. Rest of the season hopefully should be a little bit faster. Hopefully. But looks like we're winning more games here as of late. There's a loss to the Carolina and the Islanders. Still a little bit of a weird start to this year for this team. But maybe we don't want to have necessarily a fully dominate season. Maybe we just want to be kind of average and make the playoffs, and anything could happen at that stage. I don't know if it's because we have too good of goaltending, though, too, because maybe just our goaltending combination's too good. But, wow, we just beat the Rangers 10-1, so we should be a playoff team with wins like that, you would think. 13-7-4, and we're currently second place in the division, so I'm kind of surprised we're actually that high in the division, despite a record. Alright, so I think, yeah, we're going to just keep McLeod as a forward because I think that's probably the best bet. Hopefully he just stays healthy there too. I don't even know what he's doing right now in terms of offense, but let's just keep him on the forward lines because we've been definitely winning a lot more games with him as a forward rather than Nareen as a forward. Looks like Petterman's still losing morale because of ice time, as Alvin Johnson in the AHL has now been injured, a little replaced player, but I don't really know how I could get a lot of these guys ice time in. Now another defenseman that hasn't been injured yet. Tulipov goes down with an injured groin. So we've literally lost 4 defensemen this year due to injury in the first few months of the season. Okay, I think I need to have a depth defenseman up here. Apparently Petterman was also banged up recently. But I guess I do need a depth defenseman in the NHL regardless, just because of the amount of injuries happening. So we will go down to the AHL. Let's just call up... who do I want to call up as that depth defenseman? I don't want to call up somebody listed as a top 6, really, because they're also going to lose morale. I honestly might have to just keep them in the AHL. I might as well. Let's call up Ackerstrom again. But all of them listed as top 6. I don't want them to be scratched in the NHL, so I have to just keep on calling them up and sending them down, as tedious as it is. So let's get somebody into the spot here. And I'll get Sagan back into that top 4 for the AHL, trying to get some of those guys a little bit more ice time, if possible. But yeah, this has been an injury-riddled season. I don't know why our defensive core is so made of glass, but apparently it is. So go with that and continue to simulate here. I need to see the simulation, though, because I can't see what's happening here, man. Why does the sim do that, though? Sometimes it's friggin' annoying. Wow, we had a 1-0 overtime win. That's a very low-scoring game. Obviously, back in the day, if that was not a 1-0 overtime win, that would have been a 0-0 game, which is pretty insane. Tulipov is back, so at least the injury was not too long-term. But holy crap, man, the amount of adjustments I've had to make in the start of this episode is actually kind of tiring. Maybe I should just fully turn off injuries again. But, I mean, we only have a few more seasons left of this, so maybe it's okay. But I'm just getting kind of, I'm not liking the amount of injuries I've had. I think this defensive core shouldn't be getting banged up as much as they are, but they are. Alright, so that's good. Hopefully we're healthy now for the rest of the season, because I don't really want to do any more injury adjustments. Alvin Jossman back for the AHL. Let's get him in. It's only been defenders getting injured so far, too. Like, it's literally been the same in the AHL, too, which is kind of strange. So let's get Ackerstrom back on the AHL defensive core. I don't really care too much where these AHL guys play, but let's just get them into the lineup here. And hopefully this team finds itself in the playoffs too. I don't think the AHL team is going to do good again, but hopefully they still find a way to win games just because of the amount of call-ups that we've had to do so far. And there's another defensive injury. Petterman's second injury of the season, or maybe even his third. He's out with an upper body injury till December the 18th. I'm just going to go replace player at this point because I honestly don't like calling up people so often. It's just friggin' frustrating. Like, why are we getting this much injuries? It's not like I have the injuries set to like 10 or something like that. I have them set to 9, so they shouldn't even be happening that often, but they are happening like way too often here. Unless my stuff got reset when the update happened, I don't really know. But still, man, goddamn. And I just said Stillman, and we have Stillman on our team. That's actually kind of hilarious. I didn't even think of that. Okay, so now are we going to stay healthy with this defensive core the rest of the way, please? And I need to stop the sim again because I literally can't see what's happening in the prior month. Okay, so we're having a pretty good month here. We're 21-8-4. At least we're still playing good with the injuries, though. Like, it seems like players could come in and we could still win games, so at least the injuries aren't impacting our season in any stretch. We're 25-8-4 in the first season without Stoutwood, so pretty damn good. We're 54 points, which has us like second place in the league right now, so I have no problems with the team. I honestly don't know what's been simulating good for us. Like, are we a good defensive team even with the defensive injuries? Like, 4 of the 6 defenders have gone down with an injury this year. The only ones that haven't is Bell and Tatar. So hopefully they stay healthy for this month, but let's keep on going. Keep on going through the season, but hopefully the injuries are gone, and hopefully we could just stay healthy the rest of the year, because this first half of this episode has been just a bunch of injury adjustments pretty much at this point. So good to see the team, though, doing really well, though, still, despite the injuries, so, because I was not really expecting us to still simulate this good. Lucas Reefers is out with a sore knee, so there's a first forward injury. It's still a guy in the 4th line, so let's just go replace player, because that doesn't matter as much. Comrie's now been injured, so there's 2 forwards going down. Oh, no, is the forward core going to go down with injuries now, as he's out with an injured shoulder? Let's go with replace player. I honestly don't care too much, man. We're winning enough games that these injury adjustments don't matter too much. All right. So we are definitely still suffering a lot of injuries, but we're still winning games. We're getting closer to 40 games, or 40 wins already as Comrie is back, so that's good news, at least for the center core. Stillman was in the lineup, which is okay. Don't mind having Stillman in the lineup whatsoever. Anybody else still injured? Oh yeah, Reefers. He should be back soon, though. And then Malak could be scratched again, but I wonder how McLeod's doing on that top 6. I feel like he's doing probably really well. if our team's winning this much amount of games. Like I said, when we had Narain up there, we weren't winning as much. So maybe the young defenseman is the play to have in that top 6 instead. Now, next season, if Narain retires, do we remove McLeod back to defense? That could be a potential thing. But obviously, if Narain doesn't retire, we might have to run the same type of setup again next year. And we do have guys in the AHL that should be in the NHL soon too. So hopefully we aren't suffering too much drop-off. Like hopefully Narena doesn't drop down to like a 75 overall and he's still making the $7 million next season. Ooh, now we get a goaltending injury. So we're literally getting goaltending injuries of every kind. Goaltenders, defenders, forwards. Like, this is quite impressive, to say the least. A swollen knee injury out till February 23rd. So that's a full month without Boris Malkin. And that is exactly why we still have Giunta and why we have Mathers signed as well. Now, Mathers might go through waivers, which is kind of scary. So I might have to send one of the forwards down and keep Mathers up here as a third stringer the rest of the year. That might have to be the play, just because I don't really want Mathers to get claimed. And I feel like there's probably teams that would claim him. So Mathers is back up here, but now it's Giunta's show once again. A swollen knee injury, though, that definitely sucks. That definitely sucks, man. So the AHL goaltending, Langlaw is going to get a chance to be the starter down there. And Olas, who they signed us, is going to be the backup, man. We've had to reach into that AHL team a lot this season. God damn, man. God damn. As Petterman is fully healthy, which I don't think he was injured. I know he's been injured multiple times this year, which is kind of scary. Hopefully he's not injury prone. I know he is losing morale because of ice time, but I have no way to get him more ice time right now. So he's going to have to suck it up until there's players that start leaving us on the defensive side of things probably, which potentially there is a chance we do lose some defenders this offseason. I forgot to mention that. Like Tulipov, I think is a pending free agent. So maybe we let go of Tulipov so that way we could get one of those guys into the top 4 for next season. So there you go. All right, so we've lost a couple games in a row, but that's all right. We don't necessarily need to completely dominate this season or else we will be out in the first round. But we're 34-11-4 at February the 1st. I know we're only at February the 1st because of the amount of injuries. But there's another injury in the AHL. It's Alvin Johnson again. But, man, this season's going by really slow. These injuries. At least we're very close to the end now, though, so let's just keep on running. Let's go to the 28th, a day before the deadline, see if we're on 40-plus wins by that point. I would assume we will be, as Narena has suffered an MCL sprain. So there's another defenseman go down. That is now 5 of 7, technically, which is insane. He's out with an MCL sprain. He's out till March the 8th, so that's over a month for the old guy. This is definitely probably going to be his last season because of that. What do I want to do here? I could call up a guy from the AHL again. Probably that's the best bet. Because you guys probably would get mad if I play a forward on that spot for an entire month. But we are playing good. And now Dwayne Hagen is out for the entire season in the AHL. So we don't have one of our depth defensemen. He's out with an elbow surgery. So that's like technically another defenseman that's played in the NHL this season that's had another big injury. Wow. Wow. Okay, so we can't call up Sagan because of that injury to Narena. Maybe I just keep the forward on the defense, honestly. At this stage, I might just be okay with it. I honestly don't know. This is insane. This is insanity. Yeah, there's no minus despite putting... Actually, there's one minus. It's not terrible, to be honest. Malak actually fits his top 6 pairing, too. So, you know what? We're going to keep Philip Malak playing defense. I honestly don't care. We're winning enough games right now. And I just don't want to keep on calling up people. It's for 1 month only. So, by the time Narena's back, we should be still winning games and all that. So, let's keep on simulating without Narena. Because even if we lose 20 games in a row, we're still in a playoff spot probably at that point. So, let's just keep winning games. And once Narena's back, hopefully we keep on winning games too. But it looks like the team is not even holding off with a forward playing defense, which is funny. And now we get another injury, and it's to Ristolainen. So there's a pretty big injury to the forward side of things. Sprained ankle till March the 3rd. So both of our 2 guys that could retire this season have injuries out till early March. So I guess we'll go edit lines with this one. Probably Stillman will come into the lineup, but Cashman is going to be getting top line time with Dunham and Kolars. So that's like the new look top line, I guess. Comrie will get into the top 6. We'll put Hansen there, and we will put Stillman in this spot. Comrie apparently doesn't fit the second line super well, so maybe we'll swap him and Hansen instead, I guess. Oh my goodness. The amount of injuries this season, I honestly don't know. I know I keep on talking about it, but it's literally kind of the most insane thing I've seen. I don't think I've seen this many injuries in 1 year. Since we had like my injuries set to like crazy numbers instead of 9 out of 100. All right, let's see if we can keep on winning games without Narena and Ristolainen. And Malkin is back, so that's good news to have Malkin back. So at least we get one of our goaltenders back. I don't know if he's fully healthy yet is the question, though. So is he fully healthy? Let's just double check here. Oh, yeah, he is. Okay, so that's good. Malkin is fully healthy, so we have our normal goaltending tandem. Our forward group is not fully healthy yet, and our defensive group is pretty much fully healthy, except for one defender. So let's just keep winning games till those guys are back, basically. Elvin Johnson's back in the AHL. You know, I'm going best lines in the AHL at this point. I just don't care enough. Okay, there's a win over Seattle. Vegas is a 6-1 win. We're on 43 wins. We're still cruising. Like, we don't even have 20 regulation losses yet this season. And we are still the best team in the NHL despite all these injuries. So I honestly feel like this team's going to kill the regular season, but then somehow find a way to lose in the first round of the playoffs. But you never know. Once we're fully healthy, maybe we'll do really good. So let's go Bayer. Let's go continue simulating. How do we do against San Jose at the trade deadline? Is it going to be another win on the year for us? It's been a good year, despite the injuries. 6-4. Nice. 44, 13, and 6. Damn, man. This team's going to hit potentially 60 wins this year without Selbitz. And with all these guys getting injured, too, which is the crazy thing. As Risto has returned, so that's good news. Good to get our top guy back. I really hope those guys don't retire this year, but at the same time, it would free up a lot of money, so maybe I do kind of hope in a sense that they decide to call it quits. So we'll go back to these lines again, and we'll swap Risto and Cashman. That is good. Anybody else back yet? No, Narena's still out. Mathers is a depth goaltender. We're going to have to do that just because I think he gets claimed if I send him down. So Narena should be back against the Blues, I believe, so let's simulate up to that day. I'm pretty sure he'll be back for this game. Now he's actually back, so we are going to have to send somebody down to the AHL, which in that sense, we are probably going to lean towards sending down a forward. I guess I could send down a forward here. I don't think some of these guys would get claimed. I'm going to probably send down Capaduca for the time being here. So let's just do that. He doesn't get claimed, which is good. But that gives the AHL a little bit, maybe some more depth on the forward side of things. So hopefully that's good. Capaduca could come up at any point. But, man. And Petterman's dropped down to an 78. He is definitely not liking his ice time. But there's literally no way I could get him more ice time here. I'm pretty damn certain there's no way I can. If I go to... Actually, let me keep Narena out of the lineup for one more game just so he's fully healthy first. But so let's get Stillman playing defense. But let me go to... different lines. See, I'm trying to think of where I could get Petterman more ice time. Maybe 4-on-4. Yeah, let's put him in this spot. Actually, who is normally in that spot? I don't remember who is. Let's get Petterman on a little bit more ice time here. A little bit more ice time, and this is obviously, well, we're putting Arena on the top 6, 4-on-4 unit instead. I will put Stillman there for the time being. Jeez, these injuries are really friggin' me over, man. Okay, there you go. Perfect. So that's good. We'll wait until Narena is fully healthy, like I said, just because we want to make sure he isn't getting re-injured, especially with the amount of injuries we've had this year. Ristolainen has now been injured with an upper body injury, so Risto gets re-injured again. Let's go replace player for the time being. And Narena's back. Hopefully they didn't just throw Narena on forward, which they did not, so that's good news. So we'll go back here and go to Stillman. And we'll get Narena in all those spots for the time being, which should be good. Cashman will go up to the first line center. We'll move Hansen to second line center, and we'll take Malak off the center unit and give that to Stillman again. And there we go. We are almost fully healthy. Almost. I don't think we've been fully healthy for any game almost this season, which is pretty insane. But Risto should be back here soon. We're on a 3-game losing streak, which, like I said, it's not that bad if we end up losing the President's Trophy, because maybe we have a better chance in the postseason. So let's go to the 20th. Risto should be back relatively soon, and then hopefully we stay healthy the rest of the year, because these injuries have piled up like crazy as we just suffered another one. Oh my god. If the injuries reset in franchise mode after the update, I'll be kind of pissed off, because then I know I could have adjusted it, but I don't think it did. So Dunham's been injured with a sore knee. He's out till March the 18th, so that's not long term. Let's just go once again replace player on that. But every single game, there's a new injury. We're on a 5-game losing streak. But like I said, maybe it's a good thing. Makes us come back down to earth a bit, just enough to win the Stanley Cup or something like that. I honestly don't know. But maybe the injuries are actually catching up to us, something like that. Alright, so now we should be mostly healthy. Let's once again get Stillman out of the lineup. We'll get Risto back in here. He should be healthy. Yes, he is. Okay, good. Stay healthy now, Risto. Stay healthy. You've never had injury problems your entire career up to this point, so... and then we got to get Dunham back in, which he's also fully healthy, which is great to see. But yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to get Petterman more ice time, man. He just keeps on complaining too. Like, the only way we could get him more ice time for next season is if I let go of Tulipov, probably. So that might have to happen in a sense. Alright, I think that's good. Let's keep on simulating. We're fully healthy, I think. So hopefully we stay that way now. Oh my goodness. Okay, maybe I should just shut up for the rest of this episode, not talk about injuries. An abdominal strain for DeAndre Hunwick. God damn, this episode's 42 minutes long and I haven't even simulated the entire season yet. This is insane. Hunwick is out. Let's go replace player, but he's out till April the 2nd. Our team's losing a lot more games as of late, but we're still almost on 50 wins despite these injuries. That's actually crazy. Have you guys ever seen a season with this many injuries when the injuries are not even turned up super high? Because this is outrageous. There's a win over Tampa. Game against Boston is also a win. Hunwick should be back within like a week or so. Game against Detroit is another win. Calgary is another win. Damn, we're over 50 wins. I don't even know how, but I'm not going to ask, because Hunwick is apparently fully healed, which is great. So hopefully that will help us now. Hopefully that will help us now. But man, this team is resilient, I will say that, for being able to win all these games without all the injuries. But the fact that we just keep on suffering these injuries, is our medical staff just not doing enough or what? Like, jeez. Okay, 52 wins. We got a couple more games left this season. I think only 5 games. And we have probably already clinched the President's Trophy almost, which is pretty insane. Alright, let's go through 3 games. And then we have 2 more games to end off the season. And there's another injury, and it's one of the defenders that have not been injured yet this season. So almost every defenseman, except for Tatar, has been injured this season. Holy crap. Drew Bell out with an injured hand till April the 7th. He will be back for the playoffs, which is good. So I'm just going to go replace player on him too. But this is actually crazy. I'm curious on how much man games due to injury we've lost. Like... It's actually outrageous. Actually outrageous. And Bella's back. So we had 2 shutouts even without Bella in the lineup. So there's going to be some interesting stats here, I think, with this team. Like, I honestly have no idea how good we're enough on an offensive team. I don't know how good of a defensive team we've been despite the injuries. Like, how are we simulating this good? I honestly don't know. Game against Philadelphia and Chicago to end off the season. We have 55 wins. And we're going to end off on 56-20-6. So a very good season despite all the injuries. We are going to win the President's Trophy despite the injuries as well. I honestly don't know what's gone good for us. Is it our goaltending? Is it our defensive play? But somehow this team just willpowered themselves to a President's Trophy despite losing every single defenseman almost. And at least I'd say like 3 or 4 different forwards getting injured. Pretty damn insane, man. Pretty damn insane. But let's get to the stats here and see what's gone good for us this season, what hasn't. Damn, Dunham on 89 points to lead the team. Maybe not the best depth scoring this year. Or actually really good depth scoring maybe, but not good point leaders. But yeah, we won the President's Trophy by a total of 7 points. I feel like we could be a first round exit because I don't think there's any chance that this team is actually that good despite the injuries. I just feel like that. I don't know. Maybe there is a better chance, but we are the best offensive team in the league, which is kind of a surprise. So maybe McLeod has some pretty good numbers as a forward. Goals against per game, we were the second best defensive team, only behind the Boston Bruins. So we aren't going to have another Jennings for our goaltenders. Maybe we do still have a Vezina favorite, but if we do have a Vezina favorite, it'd probably be Malkin, just because Malkin probably played more games than Gionta, I'd assume. But our goaltending was really good, despite it being actually high overall goalies. Power play percentage, we were pretty good on the power play too. Top 10 on the power play. Kind of surprised on that. Penalty kill percentage, we were also pretty decent. Just outside of the top 10. But it looked like it was a pretty good year all around for this team, which I'm still surprised about. 29-9-3 on home ice, 27-11-3 on the road, 9-1 in our last 10 games going into the playoffs. How? I think we're definitely going to be a first round because I don't even trust this team really because of the injuries. All right, well, let's take a look at some stats. We know that Dunham led us in points, and we were expecting a big year from Dunham, obviously taking over for Staubitz, but 89 points, looking pretty good. I don't know how much goals and stuff, but let's take a look at some stats here and see who did what. So starting off with Cashman, 75 points, plus 33, 104 penalty minutes. That's why we re-signed Hector Cashman. That was another signing that some people probably didn't like too much in the offseason, but I think it was worth it. He does pick up really good numbers in a top 6 role. He had the exact same amount of points as Ristolainen, but obviously Risto missed a good chunk of games this year. 69 games only for Risto, but 40 goals and 75 points. Comrie on 53 points. That's a better year than anticipated for Comrie. He's actually listed as a second-line forward, so maybe next season he'll be in the top 6 if Risto retires. Kopitz on 35 points, pretty solid. Hansen 24 points. Stillman on 5 and 17, plus 7. Pretty solid. Kolar's on 89 points. Damn, Kolar's. Pretty damn good still for Kolar's, even without Staubitz. Like, these guys are still producing pretty damn good. Like, that almost is close to a career high, I guess. Maybe not close to a career high. A couple 100-point seasons for Kolar's, but Delisle on 51 points. Malak on 13 points in 30 games. This is that for. That's pretty good. Right wing side of things, Dunham on 89 points in 79 games. The best year of his career for sure. 38 goals. So Eugene Dunham is looking decent, and I think he's definitely done a good job replacing Staubitz for now. $8.4 million might be a bit expensive, but he's locked up for the rest of his career here, which is good. Doig on 45 points, not too bad from him. He's a pending free agent, I think. Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to be able to afford him. We'll see. 38 points from Robertson, including 20 goals. That's pretty good. Rafer's on 30 points. As a rookie, is actually way better than anticipated for his ice time and his overall. Yeah, that's a good year. That's a good year for Rafers. Didn't even get any power play time, but in 909 ice time, he was doing good. Okay. Defensively / forward-wise, Ryder McLeod in his first season might be a Calder favorite. 62 points in 76 games. Most of them probably coming as a forward. So Ryder McLeod was definitely the right call as a forward. Really good year for him. Coming up from the AHL and all that. He's looking nice. Very, very solid. We have Drew Bell on 41 points. Plus 74? Holy crap. Okay, that might be the plus minus I've seen from a defenseman on a team. Like, how is he a plus 74 on this team despite all the injuries? That's insane. Tulipov was plus 11 with 35 points. Hutton was 33 points, plus 69. So that Hutton and Bell pairing was really good. Norena somehow was minus 2, but he had 30 points in 68 games despite his age. He probably is, no, he's not on the decline yet, but he probably will be soon. Hunwick 24 points, plus 14. Petterman 5 points only, plus 6. He is still not in a happy state because of ice time. I don't know how I could get more ice time yet, unless we get rid of Tulipov in the offseason. From a goaltending perspective, we were one of the best defensive teams, and okay, Malkin and Gionta both posted .913 save percentages. So Malkin did it in 51 games, Gionta did it in 35. I wonder if Malkin's going to be up there for the Vezina this season. I don't know if he will, but it will be interesting to see about that. Mathers won both of his games, but he was pretty damn trash. But he'll still get a chance maybe in the playoffs if our goaltenders aren't doing well. All right, so in terms of our team, I want to see how much games we lost potentially due to injury here. So from a forward perspective, we lost 2 games from Comrie. We lost a total of 3 games from Dunham, so that's 5 games. We lost 4 games from Reefers, so that's 9 games. Ristolainen lost a lot of games. So let me actually do some calculations here. I know that some of you guys don't really care too much probably about this, but I'm kind of curious on how much games we lost this year due to injury. So that's 13 games that Ristolainen lost. So we've lost 22 games on forward side of things. Yeah, 22 games on the forward side of things. From a defensive standpoint, if we sort by games played, Huttonen's the only one that played all 82 games. We lost 1 game to Tulipov. We lost 2 games to Bell. We lost 3 games to Petterman. We lost a total of 6 games to McLeod, so he's technically a forward, but it doesn't really matter. We lost 10 games for Hunwick. And then we also lost a total of, I guess that's 14 games for Norena. So that's 58 man games lost due to injury on our forwards and defense. And then also Malkin lost some games due to injury too. So you're probably looking at like 65 games around lost due to injury this entire year. So that's pretty damn insane. Pretty damn insane. All right, let's take a look at stats around the league, see who led in points and all that. A little bit of a lackluster episode because of the injuries, but it is what it is. So Bochenski of the Sharks leading the league in points. Don't think I've seen this guy up there. 116 points, 58 goals, 58 assists. Rodin also up there for the Sharks too with 105 points. Nobody else hit 100 points this year. So it was a bit of a low-scoring season. So Dunham being up there with 89 points is nice to see. Interesting. And Bjorkstrand only had 93 points for the Kraken. Kind of surprised the scoring went down a little bit this year. Maybe it's because Staubitz is not in the league anymore. Best goal scorer this season was Bochenski with 58 goals. Only 50 goals scored in the league too. So maybe we're heading into a little bit of a goal-scoring recession or something like that. From a defensive standpoint, best defenseman in points was Bissonnette in Winnipeg, still with 88 points. Not really a surprise. McLeod was up there, but obviously he's not going to win a Norris, but he could definitely win the Calder this season. And the funny thing is he outscored our former defenseman in Tuzolino, who is still in Florida, 54 points for him. All right. Best goalie in terms of wins this season was David Morris in Detroit with 45 wins. Best amount of shutouts was Numanen, Brouwer, Foy, Campagna, and Ferraro, all with 6. Best save percentage by a starter is going to be Strudwick again in Boston this time around. So Strudwick might have just won another Vezina trophy. This guy's already won Vezinas in LA, I think. No, maybe he hasn't. I guess not. I thought he has, though. I swear I remember this guy being really good. Maybe it was in the playoffs. Yeah, it might have been in the playoffs way back at this stage. He was really good. But I thought this guy won some Vezinas. But he's been a good regular season goalie, though, too. But he's just never won a Vezina, so he might have won his first at the age of 32. But yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to have a Vezina trophy winning goaltender this season. There's just too much other good goaltenders, unfortunately. But pretty good year in terms of our defensive play. Best rookie this season is going to be Ryder McLeod. So Ryder McLeod is going to win a Rookie of the Year, which is great to see. Really good to see, actually. I don't think we've had a lot of guys win Rookie of the Year, so to see Ryder McLeod win one is going to be nice. It's going to be nice. I think he's going to get a lot of growth. I think he could be a really good player to have in our top 6 on the offensive side of things, but we could always move him back to defense once Norena retires and we start to lose people on that defensive side of things if we want. But he's definitely shown that he could be a forward too, which is good. All right, so there is that. Now the question is, who are we playing in the first round of playoffs? And who is going to be the team that cheeses us in the first round? Because I definitely feel like this team should be cheesed in the playoffs just because how do you win the President's Trophy and have that good of stats despite having all those injuries? Like, we could be actually good, but I don't expect us to be. We're going to be taking on Minnesota, who went 44, 33, and 5. Interesting. We've played Minnesota a lot in the playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning in this matchup. Now, during the regular season, we were the first best offensive team. They were the 8th best offensive team. They were the 16th best defensive team. We were the 2nd best. Power play percentage, they were 11th. We were 7th. Penalty kill percentage, they were 29th. We were 13th. All right. Let's take a look at Minnesota. Let's take a look at their lineup. little bit of a weird episode, this one. A little bit of a weird one. Hopefully you guys are okay with all the injury adjustments and stuff like that. Oh, man. Okay, so this is Minnesota. We have a first line, Dmitry Kondratyov. They also have Sven Renberg, who was actually, he was in the Cup Finals last year against us, I think. Yeah, he was. I do remember him. How did he go from 31 points to 83 points? That's insane. I mean, I think he was on the third line with the Flyers last year. But he was really good this season for Minnesota. And obviously he won a Stanley Cup against us, so yikes. Second line, actually I forgot about Nurmi. Shout out to Kari Nurmi as well. Second line has Nicholas Booth. What's this guy's name? Sergei Korobov and youngster and Todd Rupert. Todd Rupert, I do remember him, I think. Third line has Arkhipov. That might be one of the other Arkhipovs we've seen before too. Nikolai Arkhipov. Gavin McKenna is still playing at 36. He's down to an 82. And also Ruslan Afanasenkov. And a fourth line of Matthew Bergevin. Tijji Gintla still playing at 37. And also Mikhail Fost. From a forward perspective, that's a very cheesy offensive core. It is good in terms of depth. But Kondratyev's the best as an 87. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Defensively, they have a cheesy defensive core. Francois Massionev with Ryan Oshie. Second pairing has Braden Polacek with Casey Moss. In a top six pairing, Blake Beckett and also Rod Winther. Yeah, that defensive core and that offensive core definitely screams cheese. I honestly think we're going to be a first round exit here. And if we do get past them, maybe we're actually going to be good this year, but I'm still skeptical. Goaltending wise, they have a good goaltender though, Mateo Blackburn, which we've played against him a couple times, I think, in the postseason when he's been with Minnesota. Yeah, he was a part of their cup winning team, and then he played against us last year, I think that was. And he was not very good, so I expect him to do a lot better against us this year. Their backup is Rick Lupel. Scratched wise, they have Timofey Medvedov. They also have Junior Germain. I think it's pronounced or German, not too sure. And they also have another depth forward in Alan Sylvester. Yeah, that team definitely screams cheese to me. Like I said, the offensive core is not really that bad, but they don't really have a superstar player. They have barely any X factors on their team. And then their defensive core is pretty mid. Their goaltending is good. Like, they barely have any guys in general with any abilities. So I think we should be able to beat them, but at the same time, since we had such a good season and we're on a good note as of late, despite having a really good year and the injuries and all that stuff, I just don't feel safe that we're going to actually be good in the first round. But maybe this team will surprise me. Maybe we'll find a way to get 4 wins and get ourselves to that second round again. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So next episode, we'll take it to the first round of the playoffs against the Minnesota Wild as we look to stay more healthy in the postseason maybe, and find a way to get 4 wins, get to the next round, and keep on building from that. But I think the number one thing is to stay healthy first and foremost, because this team has suffered so many injuries during the season that we got to stay healthy sooner rather than later, you'd think. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.